he was always there in the background. I could feel him. I could see him, and I could feel him, and I knew that he was back there. And a lot of times, I could keep him back there, but eventually, he would start creeping up, and then the day that I would change, he would grab me, right? Alrighty, guys, gals, non-binary pals. Wow, what a video we have today. We are going to be talking about Trisha Paytas. They released a video titled, trigger warning, being fat with an ED. And so this video is 22 minutes long. I've watched it already. We are just going to watch the first like 8.5 minutes because the rest of it is kind of just a rant that has nothing to do with anything. But the first half is actually interesting, and I feel like there's actually something to talk about there. So without further ado, let's go into it and see what they have to say.
Hi.
I will never understand. I have been doing YouTube for many years. I don't think I will ever be able to be as comfortable as Trisha is in front of a camera, or they just don't care at all, even a little bit. Goals.
Oh, okay. I wanted to open up about something because I've been really depressed all day, and part of it is because I just finished these amazing 2 days of shooting a music video, and it was the highest high I could feel. So part of it is a manic low right now, but it also is combined with severe depression that came from self-hatred.
Okay, so before we get into this, I know people are probably gonna be like, why didn't you talk about... I know there's a lot of stuff going on with Frenemies, which is a podcast they do with Ethan Klein, and there's been a lot of drama circulating about that. We're not talking about any of that. We're gonna focus on the video and what's going on here. We're not gonna talk about any of the other stuff. I'm sure a lot of people will be like, why didn't you talk... That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about this specific video and what they talk about in this video, okay? All right, cool.
And I haven't had one of these days in a while, and I just want to talk it out. And I have therapy tomorrow, so like, I also know like sleeping. I took naps today. I always feel better once I like wake up the next day. But I've taken 2 naps, and I don't feel that much better. But being a fat person with an eating disorder, being anyone with an eating disorder sucks. Being fat with an eating disorder like double sucks because like you don't look like you have an eating disorder. And
so right here, I agree with this, and I think that a lot of people, when they hear someone that might be overweight or might be a little bit larger, they hear that you might have an ED, and they're just like, "Oh, you're being ridiculous," or "That's not true. That's impossible." I know for a fact you absolutely can be overweight or a little bit bigger and still have an ED. Like, it doesn't mean that you don't have one, right? And so I can understand the frustration that they probably feel when they talk about this and people are just like, oh, you're being ridiculous, right? Like, I can understand that frustration for sure.
So people have really no empathy. So I am looking for some empathetic people out there that have this and can share some words of wisdom with me because I'm feeling really down right now.
So that right there was interesting because I obviously... Hopefully I can share some words of wisdom. This video is not to bash Trisha at all. This is really to share what I have seen with myself, and as well as, you know, speaking to literally thousands of other people that have dealt with similar things. So hopefully this video ends up, Trisha's actually able to see it. And yeah, so hopefully I can share some insight, I guess.
So I have been doing really well as far as exercising and just like eating healthy for meals. And I've been trying to eat like 3 meals a day. Been like choosing healthy options for like 3 days of the week. And then if I eat something bad, only 1 meal bad, and you know, the rest healthy choices.
So it's interesting to me when the 3 days a week, I'm not sure if that was misspeak or because 3 days a week is not enough if you're actually trying to make a change. Like I would encourage you to try and do it every day. That's the first like tip, I guess. And then as far as like eating 3 meals a day, I am someone that is like, if 3 meals a day is too much stress and it stresses you out and it doesn't feel like it helps you, don't force yourself to eat 3 times a day. If eating twice a day is better for you with maybe some snacks in between and that works better for you, then do that. If eating 5 times a day works better for you, then do that. You don't have to be forced to eat a certain specific amount of times in a day. It doesn't make, like, so many people, again, there's the base of the pyramid, and then people focus on these things at the very top, which is like how many times you're eating a day, or meal timing, or all these little things that it's like the base hasn't even been set and it's not even solid yet. So why are we focusing on these things on the top of the pyramid, right?
I don't want to edit this because I'm lazy today. So like, okay. So I've been doing good, right? And I don't really weigh myself. I weighed myself the first week, and I'm gonna weigh myself at the month, which I think I've only lost like 10 pounds. But like honestly, that's a lot, and that's good. And like I have been like very like lenient with my diet. I've been really strict on exercising every day, but like lenient on my diet. But
so it seems like they want to lose weight, right? That's from what I'm picking up. That seems to be the goal that they are going with, right? And so my tip is always, if you are trying to lose weight, focus on the diet first. Focus on what you're eating first before you're focusing on how much you're working out. I'm not saying you don't work out. If you want to work out, that's great. That will only help, right? But you should be focusing on the diet. That is the most important factor when it comes to weight loss before exercising is. Focus on the diet. Again, pyramid. Focus on the base, which is the diet, and then focus on other things that might help supplement that diet that you are hopefully sticking to, right?
I have binge eating disorder, like full-fledged binge eating disorder. Like it's a disorder. Like it's something that it's really hard for me to control. Just like my borderline, like it's hard for me to control. I'm doing my best. I take steps. I go to like an ED specialist. Like I talk to someone about specifically just for food, and then I talk to someone specifically for my mental health. They kind of go hand in hand, but there are like eating disorder specialists because they often overlap. But again, it's good for me to go to two different ones because one kind of just focuses more on my eating. The other one kind of ties in my eating, but that's a whole different thing. Anyways, so tied in with being on a manic low, we decided to go out to eat this morning because I'm like, you know what? Let me get dressed. I got dressed. I put on a pair of jean shorts and a pair of jean shorts, and I'm like, you know, that's good for me. Usually I put on like sweatpants or something and I look horrible going out. And we're gonna go, I haven't filmed like a vlog. I started filming like a vlog today. And we're gonna go to this restaurant, and I was so excited because I wanted a Belgian waffle. I've been like wanting a Belgian waffle so bad, but I've been really pretty strict on like not eating sweet stuff, like sugar stuff, aside from pasta. But I only have pasta like once a week now anyways. I used to have it like literally every day. So I've been wanting this Belgian waffle for so long, and we go to this place and they don't have a Belgian waffle, and I'm like they had other things I could have eaten: eggs, bacon, pancakes, French toast, like whatever, you know what I mean? This was gonna be my one meal. Like my mindset was like, this is my one meal, because when I do eat bad meals, this is really bad, but if I'm being completely honest, I'm gonna tell you, like if I do eat a thick meal, like a pasta or something really heavy, I just eat that one meal a day. I try and eat it around like 3 o'clock or whenever, but.
So that right there is kind of like a red flag, right? So if you are, so then it's like rewarding yourself with food, and then it's basically like you are almost like bargaining with your food. You are intentionally restricting, right? Over restricting, so you can have this one big meal, and then when you're done with that big meal, then you're not going to eat for the rest of the day. And this is the cycle that I dealt with when I was struggling with BED, which I did struggle with quite a bit. Was I would over restrict, and then I would binge. Like over restrict, binge. Over restrict, binge. Like that's the cycle that I lived with. Now, I'm going to share what helped me. I am not at all trying to say this is what Trisha needs to do or what anyone else needs to do. But for me, the thing that helped a lot was allowing myself to eat a little bit more during the week. So instead of eating, trying to eat 700, 1,000, maybe 1,200 calories in a day, upping those calories each day to where I wasn't so hungry and I wouldn't end up binging, right? Because the reason I binged for me was literally because my body was like, you need food. And then I got to a point where it was I could no longer, the way that I've explained binge eating for me was, it was like back here, or he's right back there. So he right there, Mr. Calorie Deficit, that's his name. He was always there in the background. I could feel him. I could see him and I could feel him, and I knew that he was back there. And a lot of times I could keep him back there, but eventually he would start creeping up. And then the day that I would binge, he would grab me, right? And I knew he had grabbed me. He would grab me, it's noon, right? And I know that he's there, and I know that this is going to happen today. And so by noon that day that I would binge, I knew it was going to happen. And then by the night, everyone's asleep, into the kitchen, things happened, right? So once he got a hold on me, right? Once the hold was complete, once he touched me, it's game over. It's game over. I no longer had control. When he put his hand on me, and he would take over, and then I felt like I had zero control. And so for me, instead of, because I would almost take too much control during the week, and then I would have to give up that control at whatever day, right? Whenever I would binge. So instead, allowing myself to eat a little bit more, have a little bit more leniency with myself, that really helped me. Again, me, I'm not saying that I'm trying to say this is what will help Trisha, but that's what helped me. Okay.
Usually like between noon to 3, and then I'm not hungry the rest of the day. And it kind of works for me. It's not really good, especially if you have...
It doesn't seem like it is, right? Like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but it doesn't seem like it's working.
Like, you're really, really not supposed to do that. But I do, and it's just, it's baby steps, so that's, yeah. So, I usually always try and work out after, so, again, it's trying to, like, cancel it, I guess, but I was so...
Yeah, that's not, again, I understand where the mindset is. But again, all of these are red flags. Like, they really, really are.
I'm having this. Like, I was really strict up until my music. Like, even weeks before. Usually I crash diet like the week before my music video. But like 2 weeks, 3 weeks prior to my music video, I'm like watching what I eat. It started June 21st. Okay, it's almost like, yeah, we're almost coming up on a month of it. So I was like, I'm so excited to have this Belgian waffle. They didn't have it. And I got really sad. Like, I started tearing up and I felt really embarrassed. Like, I could see my eyes watering. And Moses was like, let's just go somewhere and get it. And I was like, no, it's fine. Like, because in that moment, I started feeling embarrassed that I'm like, really, I'm gonna like, we just parked into this like nice hotel, walked through, sat down, ordered orange juice, and I'm gonna leave because like I'm just so fat that I need a Belgian waffle. Like, I was like, no, it's fine. Like, we're here. He's like, well, they have eggs and bacon, but I'm like, I'm mad. I'm pissed that they don't have the Belgian waffle. Like, that's what I wanted, which is like, and then I'm mad at myself for being pissed about this because like I'm really let food controlling my emotions like this. Like, this is. And I've been in a funk all day. I've been literally like in the bed all day. And Moses just went out and did some errands because I was just like in such a bad mood and like, and I tried to like nap. I already said that I tried to nap and like brush it off, and it's like stupid. So anyways, I just had this like, so I started like this spiral of like feeling like pissed, and then also just like hating myself.
So it's really frustrating when you, again, when you feel out of control, regardless of what that control might be, right? It might sound petty when it's food, right? I understand where people are coming from. Like, it's just a waffle. Why are you? But like, I can understand. It's just anything. When you feel like when you were looking forward to something and then that thing isn't able to happen, regardless of what that thing is, it can be very frustrating and it can make you upset. And then, I mean, I understand where they're coming from because I deal with the same types of feelings, right? Of feeling stupid or feeling bad that this thing is making you upset. Because if you're able to take an eagle's eye view of it and really look at it, you're like, okay, this shouldn't be a big deal. But it doesn't matter because at the moment, it is a big deal to you. Especially when you know that eventually when you get out of this feeling, you will look back and be like, I cannot believe that I let that be a big deal to me. But in the moment, it doesn't matter. In the moment when you're feeling that way, it doesn't matter how when you are rational in an hour or maybe even a week, however long it takes, you know that you'll look back and be like, that was ridiculous, because it doesn't matter, because in that moment, that's all that matters, right? So I can understand why this might sound a little ridiculous. Oh, it's just a waffle. Which, you know, that's another thing, like, should food be such a big deal? Again, that's a whole nother conversation, but I can understand where they're coming from.
And then I just decided not to eat the rest of the day. I don't want to eat. He's like, I'm going to go pick up steaks for dinner or something, because it's like something that's like a good meal that I like that doesn't make me feel bad. And I I was like, no, I'm not hungry. I'm not eating. Like, I don't. And I know myself because I'm going to go throughout this whole day not eating and all night. Like, I'm not going to eat. And then maybe tomorrow I'll still be wallowing in some self-pity about this. And then like Friday, I'm just going to go ham and I'm going to like, let's go to the movies. Let's get pasta. Let's do all this and like get popcorn and nachos. And I'm going to binge for the weekend. And then I'm going to be like, you know what? Monday, it's fine. I'll get back on it. Because I'll have my weigh in like next Wednesday. That'll be like a month. And this is the pattern that I make. And then when I eat food, I'm like so happy and I'm such in a good mood. And I'm like, it really sucks having food control you and your emotions. Because I can't control my food controls my emotions, therefore I can't control my emotions either. And
so obviously, rationally, right? Again, and it's very clear that they're not in a rational place. And there's nothing wrong with that. I understand. It's very clear they're not in a rational place. So rationally, you would think, well, you don't have to do that. Of course, right? Like, you don't have to restrict up until, you know, the weekend and then go to the movies and get nachos and popcorn and all of these things. Like, rationally, that doesn't make any sense. But when you are struggling with this, you're not thinking rationally, right? And again, I've been there, and the thing that helped me the most was to stop restricting as much. I'm not saying that you have to go super over the top and be like, I can eat anything I want, and I can eat as many calories as I want, and all that. Like, it doesn't have to go that far, but just allowing yourself to have a little bit more during the week so you're not so hungry and you're not looking forward so much to a certain meal. That helped me a lot.
And it's a vicious cycle and it sucks. And I don't like putting my fiance through that. I don't like putting myself through it. It's just like, I was just getting so emotional all day and like crying about everything. Like, I'm trying to distract myself. I'm trying to think too where I only go and look on social media like twice a day, like in the morning and at night. Like, that's it. And then I post, like if I have to post something. But like, I've been really trying like just to not look that much. I love social media, but like it is kind of toxic to check all the time and be, you know, whatever, you know what I mean? Just kind of like give a once browse. Oh, and it sucks. And it sucks. And you know what sucks is like.
So this is one of the biggest issues with being an influencer, right? Being someone that you make your living off of yourself and what you do and the things that you do, right? And so you feel like you have to share everything, and you feel like you can't keep things to yourself because in some way, this sounds bad, but in some way, everything you go through can be monetized. Everything that you deal with can be lucrative for you, right? And so it can be very, very hard to like really be like, am I going to actually keep this to myself? Or do I share this with people? And hopefully hopefully that through sharing it, you're helping other people as well that might be dealing with a similar thing. But there's also that little thing in the back of your head thinking, well, you know, this could be a pretty good, pretty spicy title, pretty spicy thumbnail, and I'd probably get a lot of clicks. And let's be real, right? It's hard not to go with that sometimes.
Like, I know a lot of people struggle with eating disorders, like a lot, like more than people think, like normal sized people, thin people, overweight people, like really, really sucks. But I just feel like as a fat person with an eating disorder, like, again, I'm not trying to like pour me, but it's just like, it sucks because like people just think like, just stop eating, just like, or they think it's just easy to be like, you're like, people who watch this that don't get it are gonna be like, wow, like, you're pissed because they didn't have a menu item. I'm like, oh my God, this fat bitch. You know what I mean?
I think if someone is thinking that, the whole point of the video is going over the head. I don't think it's as simple as stop eating. I think that it is complicated. And again, like, I totally empathize, but I don't think that just because something is difficult and it's hard means that you shouldn't try and do it, right? Like, yes, this is going to be very difficult and it's going to be very hard, but that means that's something that you should push to try and improve, right? Because I truly think that if you were to improve this, anybody, right? If you're struggling with this, if you were to improve this part of your life in general will get better.
And maybe that's like in my head, or maybe that's what actually people think. I'm not sure. I don't know. Like, that's the problem with reality is like, I always tell people like, you know, no one's really judging you on your size, because I don't look at someone and be like, oh my God, they're so fat. Why are they wearing that? Oh my God, they're so fat. Why are they eating that? I've never once thought that about anybody in my life. But then there's comments, and you know, and I see YouTube videos of people who truly hate fat people and think fat people are disgusting, or they make fun of them, or they try to shame them into losing weight, and sometimes that works, whatever. So I'm like, maybe that does exist. In my head, I'm like, oh, it doesn't exist, nobody's really caring. But then I'm like, that's not really the reality of it either. And all this to say, like, I mean, it's not really saying anything. It's more asking for help. Like, what do you do? Because this now ties into self-hatred, which is something that I don't really delve into that much anymore. Like, I really like myself. Like, I know some people might be like, well, you suck.
Okay, so now then it kind of goes into like it kind of gets off the rails, and it's no longer talking about the ED and the BED stuff. So as far as like, you know, what I think about this, I definitely think that this is something that's very hard to deal with. It's not fun. It's not easy. And I'm not saying that anybody is weak for dealing with this or, you know, struggling with this. But I do believe that it is conquerable. And I think that a lot of times the things that people do to conquer this are just trying to muscle your way through by over restricting and just hoping that eventually it will work, right? Like, if we just think about it yourself, right? If you are continuing to do the same thing over and over and over again, and the results are the same and same, why would it ever change, right? You have to think about it in a different way, try and tackle it in a different way. And that's what worked for me, was instead of being like, I just need to be more dedicated, I just need to be more, like, just be able to be hungry and like just deal with it. Instead, I was like, let's allow myself to eat a little bit more. And that really did help. And then on top of that, like lifting weights more, that made me just hungrier in general, and just moving my body more. Like, all of that stuff helped me in the long run. And again, I'm not claiming that I can fix anything or solve anything for Trish or anything like that, right? But I'm just saying, for me, that was something that helped me a lot. And so at the end of the day, I just hope that if they do watch this video, it is something that you can conquer. And I think that it is something that when you actually do fully conquer it, you can live a life that feels like that thing that you're dealing with, the BED, is in the past, and it's not something that you deal with anymore. Like, I really do believe that that's possible, and that's the life that I hope most people end up, you know, getting to. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say on that.